But my question today is, what is the condition of your soil? And when I say your soil, I really mean mine as well, because this is something that came out of my quiet time this morning, prayer and just reading in scripture, the wisdom that comes out. And it usually, when it's really wisdom that resonates with me, um, it's typically in the form of a question that you dive deeper into. So the question that came out of my time and quiet time this morning was, what is the condition of your soil? And whether you are someone who, um, you know, is a person of the Christian faith or not, there's still wisdom in it. So I hope you don't hear this necessarily as preaching, but just wisdom that is found in Scripture, regardless of what your beliefs and faith are. And I was reading in a book called Luke in chapter 8, and there's a parable. And the parable says, a sower went out to sow his seed. And as he sowed, some fell along the path and was trampled underfoot, and the birds of the air devoured it. And some fell on the rock, and as it grew up, it withered away, because it had no moisture. And some fell along the thorns, and the thorns grew up with it and choked it. And some fell into good soil and grew and yielded 100-fold. As he said these things, he called out, who has ears to hear, let him hear. And of course, as Jesus was saying these words, he was talking specifically about the gospel and the message that he was to bring. And that's first and foremost his meaning and purpose for sharing it. And just like so many things he taught, again, no matter what you believe about him and who he was, there was so much and so many layers of truth and wisdom in everything he shared, as I looked at this in light of the work I do and the growth I myself am looking for as a leader, as an entrepreneur, and as an individual. And as I support and guide other leaders, entrepreneurs, and individuals in their growth, personally, professionally, spiritually, the truth in this is that it's wisdom of a farmer. It's wisdom that farmers have known and demonstrated to us for such a long time. And when we're looking for harvest, when we're looking for solid, healthy growth that leads to a harvest of some sort, sometimes we want to dive right into planting the seed and just wanting it to grow, right? But there's something that has to happen first. You've got to prepare the soil. It's all about the soil. It all starts with the soil, at least, right? And in this parable, as Jesus shares, he talks first about a sower casting seed and the seed falling in different places. And it falls first on a well-worn path, right? It's trampled underfoot. So we're talking about ground that's hard. These days it could even be paved, right? A paved path. The seed's not going to go anywhere, and the birds of the air come and eat it and pick it up. Then there's the rocky path that really there's no soil there, or the rocky ground. There's not enough soil. So when the seed falls, it may spring up really quick because the soil is shallow, but it dies off because there's not enough moisture. There's not enough there to sustain the seed. Then there's the ground that's thorny, right? The weeds, the thorns, the things that are there. So there's enough soil for it to start to grow, but then all the weeds around it choke it out. Don't let it get enough sunlight, steal some of its moisture, and there's no growth or harvest. But then there's the good soil, right? And in the good soil, the seed is received fully. There's nutrients. There's everything it needs for it to grow and flourish, and then one day produce the harvest. And as we look at this, again, when Jesus shared this, it was about the gospel and his message. And when we look at this as leaders, as entrepreneurs, and just as individuals, are we taking the time when we're thinking about our own growth and the harvest that we're hoping for and working towards, are we taking the time to make sure the condition of our soil, right? For me, am I ready to receive all that's going on, all that's going on around me, within me? Am I ready to receive what I need to receive for growth? Am I preparing my own soil? I don't necessarily want to go to the place that's most traveled, right? Is there, not that it's bad, but if I totally just follow the path, right, and always look to follow the path and follow everyone else, I most of the times don't even know why, right? I'm just doing it. I'm not digging deeper and asking questions and looking for the nuggets, the inspiration, the innovation, things of that nature. So I need to watch that I'm not just simply walking on the most traveled path just because that's what has always been done and that's what's easiest and that's what's in front of me. The rocky path, right? The rocky path can be those that we're just not taking the time to see what's there, right? It's quick, it's available, it's in front of us. There's all kinds of obstacles. Personally, the rocky path could be, or even another way to say it is shallow, right? Am I so focused on the shallow and the surface stuff that I'm not willing to check to see what's going on just underneath the surface? I'm so focused on just simply the results in the harvest that I'm not taking the time to think about, why is that important to me? Why is that important to someone else? Why would someone else want to go on this journey with me? And again, there's just not, just like in the shallow, rocky soil, there's just not enough to sustain, not enough moisture. Then there's the thorny path, right? And in the parable and in life, we can plant seed, we can think about the why, but then if we let the troubles, the weeds, right? The troubles, the stress, the fear, the ungrounded fear dictate what we're thinking, what we're focused on, it can choke out that passion, that desire, because we're so focused on the external, we let go of what's internal, the bigger impact, what's most important. And then finally, there's the good soil, right? And if you think about good soil, it doesn't mean everything's perfect. So we're not talking about someone who starts out and just has everything there, but good soil, when you think about a farmer, how do they prepare the soil? First, they pick a great place, right? Then they'll go in and they'll clear out weeds. They'll clear out rocks. They'll go in and take those obstacles and remove them. And then think about it, they rip it open. Good soil is ripped open. They till it, they plow it, they turn it over, they fertilize it. I could use all kinds of words, but here they throw crap on top of it, right? Troubles. But instead of just seeing that crap as crap, it's spread because there's nutrients in there. There's good things that can be pulled from the manure, right, to help prepare and make the soil fertile and prepared for growth. And then the seed is planted. The seed is planted, it's received by the ground, it's watered, it's cared for, it's continued to be weeded, right? The weeding isn't just a once and done thing. We all constantly have to come back and weed it and prepare it. And then there's patience. There's patience in sticking with the process. Farmers are some of the most patient people in the world because they do everything they can within their power to set it up for growth and harvest. And then they're patient, So I hope that makes sense. It's what's going through my head, and it makes me ask the question of myself, what's the condition of my soil? What's the condition of my soil? Am I doing the things to remove the rocks, to really create fertile potential within myself, right? To remove rocks, to do the weeding, to allow myself, when in those moments where I am ripped open and the manure comes flying at me, am I willing to stop and look at it and glean from it the nutrients, the nutrition, the what I need, so that I can prepare myself from the inside out to be fertile soil for growth and eventually harvest. And then not only ourselves, but then this applies organizationally. When you look at your team and your organization, what are you doing to prepare the soil there? So the challenge is to ask yourself the question, both personally and organizationally, what's the condition of your soil? If it's not in the condition you want it to be, that's not something to beat yourself up about. It's something to celebrate that you recognize it. Now, what is the first step you can take to start preparing your soil and to make it, help it be fertile and ready to receive the seed and to grow and produce that harvest you're looking for? Again, I hope somebody else can benefit from what's going on in my head. This is the kind of work that I do with leaders, entrepreneurs, and individuals who constantly want to make sure that their soil is fertile and ready for growth and eventually that harvest that benefits not just them, but those they love, lead, and serve. So hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for listening.